picture.
We have a new patron.
Well, hello.
Hello, new patron. Moving on.
Bye
Hi,
bye.
new patron.
Just kidding. We have Noreen Axelson.
Hi,
Noreen.
Noreen.
Welcome,
Hello.
Noreen Axelson,
Thank you for
newest
your
member
support.
of the tribe. But so I let everybody down
Uh-oh.
last month because I never uh, ventured out to find us a giveaway participant. And I've got likely this month is going to be U.S. Tool and Fastener, probably some more gift cards.
Okay.
I'm just waiting on clarification for that.
Hey,
But
do you want to raffle something off for last month?
yeah,
'Cause I, g-
so
I got something.
I think we should save it.
Okay, let's wait.
Yeah, and definitely not. Yeah, we could do that maybe this month, but I think we should save it.
Oh, that's nice.
It's a Festool. We're just doing the Festool swag. So we're only doing one thing this week, but the winner will get 2 items. It is a fancy Festool coffee mug, and it says Festool.
Oh,
And then one to go along with it, one of these nice Festool 100-year pins.
ooh, that's
Ooh.
nice.
So you can put it on your polo shirt while you're working out in your shop.
There you go.
Wow.
There you
Excellent.
go.
So it's funny. I'm actually meeting up with Angie Williams tomorrow, and I'll
Oh.
finally be able to give her cutlery set that she won
Nice.
2 months ago. And then Dave Embry, if you're listening, Dave, I love you, but I still have your pen set sitting on my desk.
Nice.
I'm the worst. I'm the worst. All right, let's see who wins. Before we get into this fun-filled episode tonight, and the winner is, ladies and gentlemen, one of our lucky patrons. Come on, he already has one, I'm sure. Mr. Nathaniel Belgazel.
Nathaniel. Nathan.
Of course.
Nothing better than 2.
Boy, he's
Probably has
he's
like
got
45.
he's got super luck, that guy. Congratulations, Nathaniel.
Yeah, congratulations. Now you can set it on your fancy dancy form or fancy smancy format 4 shaper.
Nice.
Your shop. Okay. Well, that's all of our giveaway stuff. All of our patrons get entered every month into our giveaway. Our newest patron did have a chance, but unfortunately came up short to Nathaniel. So moving on. Hey guys,
Hey.
what have we been up to? Well, let me just set the tone before we get into this. Ronnie and I were at Workbench Con, which we will inevitably talk about tonight, and we're going to share our thoughts on the conference. And Mr. Sedgley there was at the Arnold, so it's the
I
first
think he
time.
got a little bigger.
First,
think he
it's
got a
just
little
the
bit.
it's just the camera angle.
No, I think he got a little bigger since that conference. I think yeah.
Came back
Dude,
motivated.
dude. I must have ate 4,000 grams of protein in 4 hours and drank about 8,000 milligrams of caffeine. And there was thousands, tens of thousands of people there.
That was really cool that you saw Arnold Schwarzenegger in real
Well,
life.
if you look at the picture I sent you guys, I've sent it to Frankie and Marianne. And Frankie goes, "Oh, Robert Irvine was there too, huh?" So we went by the booth where Robert Irvine usually is, and it's usually people wait hours and hours and hours to get a selfie with him. But then all of a sudden I looked and I go, "Holy snap. It is Robert Irvine right next to Arnold, the picture I snapped." It's pretty cool because what happens is he's walking around. You know where he is
Oh,
if
the
he's on the
crowd.
floor because there's about 10 SWAT guys around him.
Oh, really? And there's like little swarm of people too, right?
I wouldn't say too much. It's almost annoying sometimes trying to walk in the show because all of a sudden all these people you're trying to get by and go, "Oh, Arnold must be there at that booth."
Uh,
And we could barely walk in the aisles.
wow.
and it took up the entire Columbus Convention Center. So,
I was going to
wh-
ask you where that's in Columbus, Ohio. Is that where that
yep,
was?
yep,
Okay.
and it's pretty awesome. We always pay for the fast pass, so we don't wait long at all. It's pretty cool. But it wasn't disappointing, but there's some changes that have happened over the years. Like if we want to go see like the professional strongmen, that's an extra $50. And we're gonna do it next year. We've already decided. We're gonna go down on a Friday night because there's some competitions on Friday night. Spend the extra money, get the super pass for the weekend, and hang out. We had a really good time. It's about 3 hours over, 3 hours back, and that was the best part. Just hanging out with Rick, shooting the general BS. It's funny. On paper, he's my he's my supervisor. He's my boss, and I always forget because we're just best of friends. We stopped at this. You ever? So Rick goes, okay, you're gonna think this is lame, but we're gonna pull over on the way home on this exit. There's a Shell station that's got a coffee shop in there. I went, oh God. It is the best coffee I think I've had in my life. It's called Neo. It's exit 137 on 70.
Hmm.
And it's amazing. We met the owner. Just super. He's Greek. He does Turkish coffee. And we
Turkish
hung
coffee is
out
very
there.
good.
We hung out there for about 45 minutes shooting the
How
general
did he?
BS. Because guess
How
what?
did he
'Cause,
find out about it?
Uh, he stopped one time with Melinda, and it's just because there's one billboard on 70 announcing it. So what a great experience. And we just hung out. We went over to Rogue. I think we walked the show for about 4 or 5 hours. Went over to Rogue. Went to the garage sale. Got a couple of T-shirts for $10. But what was neat is the Rogue booth. We just walked right in, and there was barely anybody in there. And it's because they had there was an entrance that you had to go to because they had it all roped off. And I was like, I'm in there trying all the new stuff, and people are watching me like, what's going on? Come on in, everybody. It was a pretty decent booth. Rogue's the number one premier sponsor of it, and so long story short, as we're leaving, they had a signing, and one of the strongest human beings is in there. His name is Ray Williams. Ray Williams. He's a young guy. He's 6 foot tall, only a couple inches taller than me. But I'm going to tell you something. I've never seen a monster like this. I've seen pictures of him. The guy could squat 1,026. I sent those pictures to Allie and Maria. He's like, oh my god, and
Does
the
he know who he
guy,
is?
yeah, he's one of the strongest humans on the planet, and he's a young guy. And I said, hey, it's Ray Ray. He comes over. He stops signing. I'm on the outside of the booth. He comes over. He goes, dude. He's just a big smiley guy. He shakes my hand, and no one will see this, but his hand was about this big, massive guy. And I was like, I wasn't starstruck. I was just like, okay, this is one of the strongest dudes on the planet, and he's a sweetheart. They call him a gentle giant, and he is. So that was one of my highlights. And then my T-shirts that look like beer shirts, but they say something about weightlifting, bench heavy and all of that. Those guys remembered me from 3 years ago. I walk up, there's nobody at their booth, but they're selling T-shirts, and they get a killer podcast. And I said, dude, and they go, hey, it's you. And I go, yeah, I'm here to buy T-shirts. I go, as long as I get my picture with you. And they said, hell yeah. And I went in their booth and got my picture taken with them. And we were shooting the shit. I go, I almost made it up there a year ago. They go, really? I go, yeah. But it was an extra 2 hours. They go, yeah, we know. We live in the middle of nowhere in Aberdeen. So it was fun. Um, it, I needed to get away like that and do something completely different. Um, there's something else I want to say before I hear about Workbench Con from you guys. I want to mention something. um, you remember last week I was talking about Notre Dame, and then I went to the Arnold, and
Mhm.
I really do think I live a blessed life. So last week I mentioned something on this podcast that a couple people had said something on Beers of the Boys. Sedge, when are you going to open up your Sedge Tool Patreon account? And I said something, and Chris and I had worked a couple hours on it. And I wake up Saturday, we dropped the podcast on Friday. I had 10 patrons.
Oh
Um,
wow, that's awesome.
well, I just Chris emailed me. He said, "Sedge, check it out." And all those people who just automatically signed up, I don't have the list of names, but guys, thank you so much. Um, I just got home from work and I jumped on. I wanted to read off the names, but thank you. I can't wait to spend one weekend a month on a Sunday morning uh, live on Patreon with you guys. So Chris and I have a lot planned, and thank you so much in believing and supporting. So I just want to say that tonight, and I know I'm sucking up Three Splinters podcast time by saying
No,
that,
that's
but
good.
it's things are really great. So
That's
yeah.
awesome. I
What are you up
fell
to
So
now?
I fell asleep to you last night, Sedge.
did you really?
Yeah, I did. I did. I watched your last video and then actually searched for um planes, like smoothing planes and things, and your video came up about the top five
Oh,
planes
cool.
every woodworker should, and I hadn't seen it. And I
Oh.
watched it all the way through, but I don't remember anything after that. I fell asleep sitting up, but I watched it all the way through. You were on the block plane. I remember that. We're talking about, so you went through number seven,
Yeah.
fives, and all those, and it was good information. Cameron came home while it was on. He sat there and he watched it too. It
Oh,
was good.
cool.
It was good information.
Hey, you know what's really cool? Is Cam's going to be 18.
Yes, in less than a month, like
I
2 or 3
know.
weeks.
I know.
Yep. Yep. It's
You
coming up
know.
fast.
God, I got so much stuff coming up fast. I've had a few hiccups in my planning and stuff like that. So I got a bit. I've had such a busy week at work this week, Monday and Tuesday. Holy moly, what a week! I got things of you know how uh, things blow up and go sideways on you, and you just got to walk away from everything because tomorrow's a different day. That was my day today. I had several things blow up. And sometimes I have found that if you're presented with a situation, uh, it just walk away until tomorrow. And
Hmm.
already I have figured out one situation. And I was on the phone with somebody on the way home, and I think I figured out another situation that has arisen. So it's, I used to be very reactive and go, but nowadays I just go, let me think about that into myself. And it's proven to work really well. Oh, it took me 20 years because I just turned 22. So
Ah,
Well, hey, it's just like what Kelly's dad says. Everything always works out.
yeah,
You know,
I've
that's
taught the kids, and they know this. Time cures all.
it is. It is. You think back about the biggest issues, the biggest things, obstacles, everything. You look back at it, you're like going, that wasn't as big of a deal as I thought. It worked out. It always works
Yeah,
out.
yeah, for sure, for sure. So, you know, uh, that's what I've been up to, and that. So, who wants to go next?
well, I say we do it a little bit different because Ronnie and I were both at the same thing, so we'll inevitably talk about the show. But I would like Ronnie to explain what
Yes.
happened to him on Friday of Workbench Con for those who don't know.
For those who don't know, so Cameron and I had a little plan because we looked at the weather and we saw it was going to be 70 range, nice and sunny. And we always go to Highland Woodworking, which is, I don't know how far away it is by car, but I did a Google like map with the bicycle thing that takes you on just perfect pass for the one wheels that we have.
Hmm.
And it was 19.5 miles away. Actually,
Wow.
there's one way to go 15, but we ended up going a little bit farther. And that was a perfect distance to where you need a charge again. So our plan was to go there on Friday, like morning range, and see what they had, and then come back. We're just going to make like a half day out of it. And I have to say, even though the things that happened, it was probably one of the best things that we did there. Probably.
Wow.
I mean, it really was. It was very fun. We saw a lot. Um, so we headed out and we made it the whole way, no problems. Went through parks, went through some amazing like estate side like mansions. I'm talking like with
Wow.
with gates the size of a house. Their gates
What?
were as big as a house. And it was like that for
Wow.
30 minutes of riding. It just one after another. Kept thinking, I'm like, where do all these people work? Where do they work? But it's right on the edge of between Workbench Con and Buckhead. So it kind of answered
Oh,
your
Mhm.
question.
oh, hello.
Yeah.
So we actually cut through downtown Buckhead. That was pretty fun. Um, so we went to Highland Tool
Yep.
and woodworking, I guess, is not tool, but and I bought well, we bought a number 4 smoothing plane, which is
Oh,
really cool. Ali Nelson.
nice.
And after I got back, I saw on your video that was one of the ones you recommend, which is great because that's what we got.
Yep.
Primarily because we're going to use it for flattening the top when we put the planking on the
Mhm.
boat. But we did put it to work when we got back on the walnut countertops I'm working on. Unbelievable. Crazy. So we picked that up. We go to eat at lunch and we charged while we were eating lunch. It was a really nice, like Mexican restaurant, kind of diagonally across the street. And then we head
I've,
back.
I've I've
Go ahead.
been there.
Have you? It's right at the intersection. There's like
Yep,
a,
I've been there.
yeah, it's like a maroon building that has an
Yep.
outdoor patio. Yeah, it was
Oh
really
yeah,
good.
it's really good.
Yeah, it was the only place that was really busy. There was like a pizza place and some others, and we kind of walked by and I was like, no one's there. And it was like 12:30. So I was like, the other place was hopping. There was like, well, there was like 6 people there, but I thought, let's go there. So then we head out. We had a full charge, almost a full charge, and it was enough. We started heading out, and we were about 4 miles into our trip back. We'd been about 24 miles, I would say, to 20 range. And we're cutting down from this onto this like a neighborhood street. So we're in the middle of the street, and it's usually I have my guard on because we're either on a sidewalk, we're crossing over. Sometimes we're even in grass, crossing over roots, everything. We've been on everything. And this is like the one where you just let your guard down. And I wasn't paying attention, I guess, as much as I should. And there was this place in the road where they had repaired it and filled it back in, and it was like a low place. And it
Mm.
was just enough to make the wheel go down and the front edge of it grab into the pavement, the asphalt.
Oh,
And when it did that, Cameron was right beside me. I was talking to him about something, and it was instantaneous. I was down. I was going like 15 miles an hour, just dead stop. And
holy crap!
I turned my left side into towards the road, and it hit my shoulder and my forearm, and my forearm went into my chest, I guess so hard that it just I thought I broke every rib on the left side of my body.
Ooh.
And all my fingertips are all of them are
Oh,
blood blisters on my hand.
oh God, Ronnie.
So when I hit, I went down. I remember Cameron was like, "Oh no, oh no," and I'm like, "I'm okay," because I knew he was worried. I sprung right back up again. I'm like, "I'm fine, I'm fine." And I remember looking at the house across the street, and it looked like I was looking through a white screen, and there were lines going across. It was like my brain was going, "You're getting ready to reboot. You're getting ready to pass out." And I told Cameron, I was like, "I've got to go sit down. I'm okay, but I got to go sit down." And I laid down in the yard, like this house. I just laid down in the yard. He was like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I'm going to be okay, but right now I'm not because I'm looking around and all I see is white." I remember I could not see. My eyes were trying to. It was just white. It was like we're
Did
shutting
you
them down.
did you
Go
have a
ahead.
helmet on?
No, no, I didn't hit my head either. Like I mean, I stuck out.
You are so lucky.
Yeah, I'm lucky I
Mhm.
didn't hit my face. I can't believe
Yeah.
that. I must have raised my head up, but it's so then once we waited about 5 or 10 minutes and I started my vision started coming back and everything was all good. And really there was no other choice but just like, okay, let's ride back. So we rode back the rest of the way. And I kept thinking, I think my ribs are broken. I think they're broken. And the more we rode back, the more it was hurting, the more, and I was like, oh, this isn't good. This isn't good. And that's when we walked into the hotel. Jason was one of the first people I saw. And I walked over to him and I just like told him, he's like, what? It's like, yeah, I crashed pretty bad. And I kept thinking it was going to get better. It didn't. We went out to eat that night with Dirk and Leather by Dragonfly and everybody. And during dinner, I like decided I can't take it anymore. And we got up. I gave money to Michelle and Patrick and said, "Here, tip her and pay her. I've got to go." So we drove around to 3 emergency rooms and they were all closed, every one of them. So we went on a 40-minute for nothing thing. And finally I was like, I didn't want to go to the hospital because I knew I'd be there all night. And so I said, let's just wait till the morning. There's really nothing we can do. So the next morning we went and it was, we got there at 10. We left at 2 something. We were there for 4 hours. A lot of it was waiting to get the x-ray, waiting for
Yep.
them to look at the x-ray. But surprisingly, nothing was broken.
Whew.
I have I have bone like rib bruising and the rib separated from my sternum, like separated from the cartilage. So that's separated ribs, and there's nothing they can do about it. So that's when I breathe in all the way, I've almost sneezed now twice, and I've never fought a sneeze more in my life. And they told me if I have to sneeze or anything to grab a pillow and hold it as tight as I can to my chest. Um, that's where I am now. I can't like it's amazing. When you get hurt, like you lift everything I do with my right or left arm, you get to see how much pressure goes onto your chest. You don't realize it.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, you don't realize that that's like a structure. It's like a backbone structure of your entire body. And when something's like hurt there, you can't do anything without you feeling that pressure. It's like and I told Cameron today, I'm starting to wonder if they just missed a break because it's strange. Most of the pain is in the middle of my rib.
Mm.
If I breathe in all the way, I can pinpoint it to being right in the middle. And I know once I thought I broke my foot and they told me the ER, they're like, well, our x-ray machine's not the best. We can't see small breaks. We can only see
Oh
big
Jesus! I was gonna
things.
say you probably got a stress
Yeah.
fracture in
I
there.
think I think I might have a fracture that they couldn't see because it just seems so intense, the pain is. And that's where I am. So I could have been worse. It was a pretty bad injury. It did make me want to just go ahead and leave after we went to the ER. I was like, I'm good. Let's just go ahead and head home.
Did
So
you?
yeah, we
Okay.
did. Yeah, we left out. We went back to the hotel. We should have taken our stuff with us in the beginning. We went back
Mhm.
to the hotel, just went up and got our stuff and left. And hey, the good thing was they gave me I went down and checked out just to see. It was 2:30, 2:45, and she looked at the computer and she's like, "Tell you what," she goes, "We can go ahead and give you your money back for this night's stay because it's
Oh
not through
good.
yet." So I was within 15 minutes of getting charged
Oh
for.
wow.
So that was cool because that was going to be another, $200. That was cool that I got that back. But Cameron was ready to go home too, which leads into kind of Jason and I both kind of talking about like how it went. I mean, it's like I don't really feel like that we missed out on anything by not staying on Saturday. That's kind of
Yeah.
how it was.
No, so before we get into this, I do want to make it clear that I still had a good time
With the people we know and
with
the
the
people we
people
hang
that we
out.
know and the people that we
Yes.
met. There's a couple of people that I got a chance to meet. One of our new patrons, Jazz Pierce, Sedge. I told you about him, but
Mhm.
he was on Bourbon with the Boys. But he came that last night, and we had really good conversation. It was really interesting to hear his background. And then another person that I wanted to shout out was John Bullow from Severn View Custom Woodworks. We had a nice time hanging out as well. But and then obviously everybody else that was there. But those were just two that I hadn't really spent any time with or very little time with in the past, and I thought that was really cool. And we may have found two more people to come to our meetup, so that's always
Wow.
good. Um, I had a good time, but quite frankly, I really do think that Workbench Con is on its last legs. And I asked Patrick if they said at the closing ceremony if they officially announced that that would be the last one. And apparently, Kristen got up there and said she's heard the rumors, um, but what they're going to do. It was real weird, I guess, the response that she gave, but it was like, we're going to take a pause and we're going to reevaluate some things to make sure that this is the best event it can be, and we'll have more information in the future. But then Patrick said that they actually gave out some tickets to people there at the closing ceremony for next year, which doesn't mean anything because they could always just be like, "Hey, it's canceled," and those people never bought
Yeah.
tickets,
Keep
right?
your
So,
tickets.
yeah. Um, but overall, like here's where I knew it was going to be a very different experience. I got to the hotel around 3
on
Thur-
Thursday,
on Thursday,
which is the
right?
day everybody arrives.
Which is the day everybody
Yeah.
arrives, and they usually start the check-in usually like around 3 or 4, but like it's not officially happening until like 5.
Right.
But I remember every single year at that hotel that we show up, you walk in that door between 1 and 4,
It's
and
packed.
the entire area is packed. Right in front of the coffee shop is packed. The whole seating area is packed. Everybody's hanging out in those little 4-chair tables, and you see people walking up and down the stairs to go to check in. I walked in, and it was a ghost town. I walked in, I saw Ronnie,
Yeah. One of
Johnny
the first
Brook
people I saw.
talking. Yeah. And then I went upstairs, put my stuff down, came downstairs, grabbed a beer, went and sat down at one of those little 4-chair pods. I was the only one there. I
And
was the
I kept
only
having to
person.
remind myself because usually we went on Wednesday so that we could kind of get in there and it wasn't busy or whatever. I kept telling Cameron, I'm like, this is not Wednesday. This is Thursday. It's getting ready to start. Like what did it start at like five something? The
Mhm.
conference started
I think 7 o'clock was the welcome party.
and there was no one. Like
Yeah.
it was freaky. It really was.
Yeah.
And that continued.
Wow.
Yeah,
I
definitely. It definitely did. To give people an idea, normally they sell about 500 tickets or close to it. They sold 250 tickets to the event. And I'll tell you right now, I did not see 250 tickets worth of people. So what that tells me is that there was probably a large group that just didn't
Okay.
really want to hang down at the bar.
Okay, that makes
Because when I
sense.
saw pictures and videos of like the actual conference area, I'm
Mhm.
like, okay, it looks like there's a decent amount of people here. But I'll tell you what, none of them, hardly any of them were down at the bar.
And just
Okay.
so people know, when we say bar, this hotel, the central location is a huge atrium that all the balconies overlook. Everyone has always ended up in that area. There's a bar next to it, but that's the hangout spot. That's where everyone goes to and everyone makes it back to. And it just never happened. There was one night where I was looking and it was 11 o'clock and I was like, everyone's came back from their dinner locations. There's not going to be any more people.
Yeah.
And it was shocking on Thursday night, and on Friday night it was even more shocking.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, that makes sense now because I saw one post, a story, and they showed the tables, and I went, that doesn't look busy. It looks like half the tables.
Mhm. Oh, it
So that
was.
makes it, and I was like, oh boy, that's not good.
Well, then
Yeah.
And
there was very clearly a lot of there was a lack of interest from sponsors because typically you go up the stairs and in that open area there was like 4 rows of sponsor booths set up. Then you walk inside, which I never even went up to the upper level. I never even went anywhere near the doors
I
just
didn't
because,
either.
yeah, I did not buy a ticket. I know I could have gone up there and nobody would have said anything to me, but I didn't buy a ticket. I wasn't interested in going up there. So I didn't get to actually see inside the room, but I talked to a bunch of people that were like, man, there's only like a third of the amount of sponsors in the actual room this time. So
Wow.
they clearly lost a lot of funding there. Um, it just all of the signs this year pointed towards the rumors that you had heard, and it was like, I mean, you basically you cut that event in half, right? That event was cut in half of what it's been every other year. Um, so I can tell you with 100% certainty that even if it happens next year, I will not be attending. Like
Yeah.
this was it for me. And
You
I'm
know, you,
very thankful I went because I did have a great time hanging out with everybody. That was awesome.
do you know how I know I'm not going next year? I unfollowed it last night on
Oh,
Instagram. I
Yeah.
was like, I don't even need it in my feed anymore.
No.
I don't even need it in there. I'm glad we went the last time because Cameron's been every year. It's a senior year. Last year, it makes sense for him to go. But I was seeing posts about the building show at the same time, and I was like, I would have gotten more value out of
Oh,
going to the builders show in Vegas than going to that.
yeah.
And
And
to my anybody listening, yeah, I didn't buy a ticket. No, I'm not going to get anything. I didn't go to the classes or anything, but I was going to see a lot of our friends and people we
right.
know that we see every year.
mhm.
We did see a lot of people in our core group, but everyone beyond that core group, no one. And another thing we didn't really touch on, even though like Johnny Brook with Crafted Workshop, there were some other people that were there. They never made it down to the lobby. It was like they had little mini other side get-togethers. And you know how usually everybody ends up in the same place down there at
Mm-hmm.
one time. There's one point where everybody's down there together.
Yes.
That's when that never happened.
Wow.
That never happened.
So, you know that show you're talking about, International Builder Show, IBS? I'm going to tell you,
Yes.
I was on the phone with somebody today and they went. It was Alan from Rubio. He goes,
Yes.
Sedge, I have never seen such a busier show because he's a show. Those guys do
Right.
show after show. And he said they put 100,000 people through there in that week, the 3 or 4 days. He goes, we could not walk in the aisles. He goes, there's something happening with that builder show. He goes,
I-
it was amazing. He goes, I've never seen a busier trade show.
Yeah, I usually go to it only when it's in Orlando. I've only
Yep.
been to it when it was in Vegas once, and I just prefer it to be in Orlando for logistic reasons and everything else.
There-
But I've heard it's not going to be in Orlando anytime soon. It's like
Okay, they
7
signed a
years
10-year
out.
contract.
Yeah, yeah, it's
But
not.
next year, something happened with Vegas. They have to do Orlando, he said, next year.
You really?
I think that's what he said.
this was like a IWF AWFS thing where they switch off every year normally.
Yeah, but
usually
they
it's
had
like
just
three-
signed.
It's like 2 or 3 years on one place,
Yeah.
and they go back
Yeah,
and forth.
It's not every other. And he
Yeah.
goes, and I remember this. I remember they signed a contract with Vegas for 10 straight years.
And
It's
there's
kind of
it's
like, yeah.
it's whenever it's in Orlando, it's a bigger show because more companies attend in Orlando. It's a bigger deal to get your stuff out to Vegas. Most people are on the East Coast side, so it's always a better show in Orlando. Some people, I guess, think it's a better destination, I guess, for Vegas. But
If it's in Orlando next year, I think I'll go because that's
oh,
one
I
show
would
I've never been to.
love for it to go back. It would like Kelly likes to go when it's in Orlando because there's plenty of things to do on top of the show, and she actually finds the show interesting as well. So she went with me last time it was in Orlando. But yeah, it just made me think about that going on. But I went mainly to see everybody, and I was just really disappointed. I love that we were able to hang out with our core group. I mean, that if it wasn't for that, if the people that we see were not there, it would have been a total bust, like complete.
Yeah.
But it's always nice to see those secondary people that you only see once a year. And little did I know when Jason said he saw me when I walked in, some of the people we saw checking in, that was the only time I talked to them or saw them again. Like I think some people left, like we left early because it was just not the same. It was very, I did talk to a few people when we were in the lobby that were excited and they were having a great time. I will say that. Someone's never been to Workbench Con before. They may have had an amazing experience.
Oh, for sure. I spoke to a few people. Yeah.
Yeah, they went to the classes, they found like-minded people, all of that. But I think for someone, I've been to every one of them, it's just changed so much.
Did they have the big W?
Yes, they did. I saw it in the pictures.
Wow,
Yeah.
good.
Which last year I let them keep it. I used to take it every year. I let them keep it because I didn't want to deal with the logistics of bringing it. And plus, I wasn't sure if we were going to come again this year. So I'm glad they still have that.
Said, you want to hear something ironic?
Yes.
Every year, like getting booze is always a huge pain in the butt. Like you're waiting 15 minutes
Oh yeah,
to get a beer, and it's really
because it's
really
always
annoying.
two or three deep at the bar.
Yeah, and typically the bar is 100% completely packed to include hardly any room to stand. Well, this year, and the lower area is always full. It got so bad over the past few years that a lot of people just started bringing their own booze, like from the room, because they didn't want to deal with that. And plus, it's expensive. It's $9.50 for a Michelob Ultra, which is highway robbery. But not only were you able to walk up to the main bar at any point and get a drink, and you could sit down pretty much anywhere you wanted in the bar, even during the busiest time. They also had the lower bar open this year.
Yeah.
So getting
First time.
alcohol this year was so incredibly easy, and there was hardly anybody down there taking advantage of it.
Yeah.
It's kind of a joke.
Al
Well-
Cameron said it was sad. He's like, Dad, this is really sad.
It's so sad compared to what it once was. And again, like all of these types of events are inevitably going to come to an end, right? Like Maker Camp is going to be something that eventually comes to an end as well, right? Like it's going to lose its luster.
Yep.
there's going to be people that go 5, 6 years in a row, and then they don't want to go anymore because maybe there's the next new thing, and then they're all inevitably going to stop. I think what the next thing is, one, I think the Texas Woodworking Festival will translate into something that is similar to this, but I think it's going to be more of a merge of like a Workbench Con meets the woodworking shows. And you're going to have lots of different like little groups and pods that go there and do things together, but also have the luxury of learning woodworking and going out and eating good food and hanging out in a really cool town. I think that that's like the next thing. And then I would say, honestly, trade shows is kind of another similar thing. It's another opportunity to get people together.
Uh-huh.
It's just the difference is that that show is not focused to content creation. And I had this conversation with a lot of people down there. I think Workbench Con, and again, I spoke to a lot of people, like Ronnie said, that went there and they had an absolutely great time and they had a blast. Part of me kind of feels bad because it's like, if only you could have seen it 3, 4 years ago. Like, you would have thought it was even more amazing because it was. It's always been.
It was.
It's always been a fun event. And again, this year was fun. It was worth the money that I paid to fly down there, to get my hotel room, to go out and drink, like all of those things, eat food with friends. That was worth it for me. If I would have bought the ticket, I would have been disappointed because I wouldn't have taken advantage of it. And I've talked to a lot of people, like, I think that event is really good for people that are first year, second year, or thinking about getting into it. But if you have a YouTube channel and you have started to build an audience, like the next thing that you need to be focusing on that's like Workbench Con, and that I would encourage you to probably spend your money on over Workbench Con, would be Vid Summit
Yeah. Yeah.
in Dallas. Now it's a very different group of people. There's not a huge woodworking community that goes there. I do think that that will grow over the next couple of years. But that's where you're going to get the information that's valuable and still get some of that, still get that whole conference vibe and getting to hang out with people. So
I think
again,
that's
had a
what
great time. I do kind of wish that I was there a little bit on Saturday night because that last night's like always kind of fun, and I actually plan on calling it early. There's just to show you how I wasn't feeling it as much this year. On Friday night, I almost called it after dinner. I was going to go upstairs at like 10 o'clock. And then I forgot Jazz wrote me earlier in the day because he lives in Atlanta. And he was like, hey, I'm thinking about coming down to the bar. And I'm sitting down there, like finishing my beer that I was going to have before going upstairs. And he's like, hey, I just arrived. And I'm like, oh, crap. I totally forgot he was coming. So, like, at that point, I'm like, well, I can't go now. So I stayed down there until probably about 1:15 or so again. And I had a great time. Don't regret it at all. It was awesome.
yeah, I mean
Made a new
I
friend.
had a lot of fun. We were with a lot of people that we already knew. We met some new people and it was definitely worth it. It's just I almost feel like we know too much about seeing the past event and how much it's changed.
Yeah.
It's just, and like you said, a big part of it is probably things lose their luster and they change. The event has changed from what it used to be. It used to be everybody gets together, everybody stays together, the whole group migrates to different places together, and it's just became sparse. And there's too many fingers in the tree now, and it's people are all doing their side things. And there's also another factor is a lot of the companies take advantage of that time to invite the people that they work with to go to events. So like I know Total Boat had a big thing that pulled a lot of the people that we know away for one
Mhm.
of the nights. They've always done that at Workbench Con, but I think that's where companies really benefit from. They get those people there at the same time and they take advantage of it. And you don't see them there that night because they have like a restaurant rented out, that kind of thing. There's a lot of spreading out that goes, but usually after those type of events, they all ended up back in the lobby. That's where everybody ended up. No matter what you did, that's where you ended up. That didn't happen this year. It just
Yeah.
didn't happen, and it was just shocking. And I'm glad I went just to see that
Mhm.
because I think if I hadn't have went, I would have had it built up in my mind that I missed out on more than it was. You know,
Yeah.
but that's you mentioned Makers Camp. I think we probably will go. If it was just me, I would not. But Cameron is super excited about every time he hears about anything about what Makers Camp is. He really wants to go. And I understand why. He has the option. He has like they do like welding type things. They do stained glass. They do all kinds of like hands-on, and that's right down his alley of in roughing it. We would take the van and you can camp out there and you
So
know,
I have never been one to say I was going to go to Maker Camp ever because
mhm.
I'm quite frankly I'm too bougie for Maker Camp.
Well, yeah,
Like I
I
tell people
understand.
all the time, is there a Marriott on the property? Because if there's not, I'm not going, right?
Right.
And um, Sedge, what's the girl's name? Uh, that she was at the Build Offer Festival, and she's working on her master's at Mark Adams. Young girl,
Anita,
Anita.
Yeah, Amanda.
Amanda
5-1.
Russell. No,
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 Anita.
Amanda. No,
513 Woodworks.
513 Woodworks.
Yeah,
Uh,
Anita.
is it Anita or
Yeah,
Amanda?
I think it's Anita. Amanda's the fine woodworking person.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Anita. Yeah,
So I spoke to her, and she was like talking it up like everybody does, like you should totally go. She was like, "Look, I was the same way you were." She goes, "What you do, the secret is there's a website that you can go
Annette.
to, a net,
oh,
yeah,
that's
a
right,
net,
Annette.
yeah."
Yeah, I was so sure. That's it, Annette. Yeah,
Um,
And she is a wonderful
she
lady.
is. I
oh,
got to
she's
talk to her
incredible.
there. She's awesome.
Absolutely wonderful.
She said she rents beforehand an RV, and like
Right.
you basically show up, the RV is ready to use, it has power, it has everything, it's on the property, and it's not crazy expensive, and you can go in on it with other people. She's like, I rent it myself so I can get away from the crowd if I want to. And I was like, man, maybe,
Yeah, that's the way to
maybe if
go.
if I do that, maybe then I would go. The only thing that holds me back, besides me being not like willing to rough it. I spent 20 years in the army. Like I surely don't need to sleep in tents and anything anymore. Um, is just some of the things that I've heard that happen there. Because it's a very different crowd, which is fine. It's a very different crowd because it's all the different sides, the metalworking, the knife making, the
Blacksmithing,
blacksmithing, the woodworking, like everything, right?
pottery,
But I have
weed.
heard, yeah, of a lot of extracurricular activities that go on there, and it's just like, man, I don't know if I want to be around that. You know what I mean? Like, if they want to
Yeah,
do it, great. I just don't know if I want to spend the weekend around a bunch of people that.
but it can't be too bad because little Evan goes every year. His dad was telling me they love it.
True, yeah,
I mean, I think it's
I
where
heard.
you're hanging out with.
I
yeah.
heard it's cool. I just heard mixed stuff about it. And that's the time of year that I am really busy whenever they have it. So,
I
Well, it's
it's
like 2 weeks or a 1 week after our SplinterCon too. So
and
mhm.
it's also I think the last time I mapped it, it was 14 hours from us, something like that. But we would just make a bigger road trip out of it. I think that's the way I would handle it. Um, I don't have to worry about school now. I mean, he'll be out. That makes things so much easier. So I do think he has to go like 3 years ago, and then last year he brought it up, and I'm like, oh, it's not a good time. But with the closing of the Workbench Con chapter, I feel like that's one that I think I would like to try out. And if the Home Builders shows in Orlando next year, I would definitely do that as well because I really like the Home Builders show. I think the Home Builders show and JLC are the two that I see the most things that pertain to what I do.
Mhm.
mhm.
There's something that I always, it's crazy. Every time I go to the Home Builders show, there's so much to see that I make a point, like I'm not going to miss anything. And I try to do the scan thing
Mm.
every single time. I'll get back home and somebody will post about this product that's like the answer to every problem I've ever had in my life. And I'm like, how did I miss that? How
Yeah,
did
I
I miss
know.
that? It's always something. And I think it's
Mhm.
partly to blame. They don't do a good job of marketing it. Like I'll pass, for example, I'll pass by a nail gun and I just keep going, oh, that's a nail gun. That's a nail gun. And you find out it's a nail gun that does something amazing, like makes ice cream. But you don't know that when you're walking
Sounds
by.
incredible.
Yeah. I mean, you don't know that. And I remember sometimes I'll post and I'm like, I saw that booth 4 times, but I didn't think there was a need to stop because
Yep.
it didn't apply to me. And then I realized, oh, I know one year it was the stone that's made out that you can nail with a nailer. And I kept seeing, you know, fake stone on the wall, and I'm like, I know all about veneer stone. Just kept walking by, and then I saw people were putting it up with a finish nailer. They were just nailing right through it, and I was like, I'm really interested in that. I wish I knew that's what that was. That's evolved stone is what that's called. So I've
Hmm.
talked to the company since I came back, but that's something that's a saving part when you get back. The people you follow on social sometimes will show you the things you missed.
Hmm.
It's amazing. So I think the Builders Show is very worth it. It's huge, but it's very worth it.
How does it compare to IWF in Atlanta in terms of size?
It's as big as IWF. It just doesn't
Yeah.
have the big equipment, but it has
Well, I mean, it's mostly, isn't
its
it? It's like
companies.
kitchen and bath, and
Well,
because
the show is massive without even going to the kitchen and bath section.
oh, okay,
The kitchen and bath kind of sets up by itself. It's its own show.
yeah,
Like
KBIS,
Kohler and
KBIS.
Delta, those companies, Price Fish, they spend a ridiculous amount of money. Like you can get lost in their sections with just fixtures for bathrooms and kitchens and things like that. It'd be great if you were designing a kitchen like where you are right now. You could go see full out kitchens but on the builder show side, I mean, it's Trex will have a massive display, for example, and then you've got companies like that and every
Simpson
company,
Strong Tie and
yeah,
everybody.
yeah, everybody fast,
Warehouser. Yeah.
every company you probably ever heard about without they're all there.
Sedge, did a festival used to participate in the International Builder Show?
We've done it twice. I remember in 2013 we did it, and it was in Vegas. And because we run tools, all these foo-foo companies around us, and I mean big companies, we were a little upset because we were running tools.
Yeah,
And really, it wasn't our show,
Mhm.
and because that's what we do. And then we did it when we had the roadshow truck. Someone decided 2 weeks before that we should be there. Some idiot. And we showed up outside, and it was pathetic.
I went the year I guess 2013.
Pathetic.
Was that the year you had a Festool Connect as well out there?
Well, no, that was a whole different
I remember
time.
going out there for Festool Connect in Vegas.
Yeah. Oh, no, we had a Festool Connect out there because someone said, oh, we should have Festool Connect out in Vegas.
Yeah, I remember that. I went to that one.
Yeah. That was the same idiot that said, "Oh, 2 weeks before we should be at IBS out there." And then in the fall, he said, "Oh, we should do the Connect out there." Yeah,
I
he was
think I
with us.
remember that. That's
He
when they
was
were
with
giving
us.
away like the hoses with the sleeves on them.
Yep.
He was yeah,
Yeah.
he was with us for 8 months. You
Mhm.
know, bonehead. Uh,
It was
it is a great show. It's just I don't think someone walked it and said, no, it's still not our show.
I agree. I,
Yeah.
I agree. I think JLC is more Festool than anything.
Oh, oh, that's the show.
Yeah, JLC's a show. I think
Absolutely. IWF, no. AWFS, no. Not at all.
I think a lot of people would like to see Festool at IWF
Oh,
again,
yeah,
but
they'd like to see us, but
yeah, they never will.
they'd love it. But who's saying that? This is what I get this is what I get a kick out of.
Every single
10
year I
people,
go,
the 10
I
people
have-
who say that, the 10 people say that, and they don't own any Festool.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I'm
right.
not getting uppity with this, but do people really realize how much that costs? Not only just
Oh, a
the
lot.
booth costs, the idiot unions that overcharge you to move a
Plug in a
twist
plug.
tie,
Plug in a plug.
a zip tie, and they
Yeah,
slice your tires because you tried to take your stuff out to your car.
yeah, it is bad. That's every conference center is that way that I've ever
And
been to.
and the wasted manpower and time out of that person's territory to work a show.
And hotel rooms and food
Hotel rooms, flights, everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
transportation costs.
Jason, you made me laugh last year. I was laughing all night. When you looked at me, you turned around, you were so exhausted at JLC, and you go, I just want to go back to my room. You know, because you're on that contour, you know, for the last 2 years, you know, in that U.S. Tool and Fastener booth, how daunting those shows are
Yeah.
because you're constantly talking. You don't when you stop, you start, and you
Yep.
keep going and going and going and going.
Not US tool, but um, JLC is my absolute cap. Like I like going to the trade shows, especially when I'm going there to hang out at a brand's booth. But I make it very clear to the brand, like, yeah, I'll come at the booth from this time to this time,
Yep.
Right.
right? And
That's
it's
the right
like
way.
it's a
Yep.
4 hour, 5 hour absolute max, and it's going to be in the middle of the day. So I don't have to get there super early. I don't have to be there super late. I could never. I talked to Matt with Celiche about it all the time. I'm like, I don't know how you do this. Like,
Yep.
especially a show like that, 5 days in a row,
Uh huh.
all day long. Like, no, thank you. Like, absolutely not.
Well, always when I go to a show, if there's a certain vendor that I definitely want to see, I try to catch it as early as possible because every day that progresses, the more they hate people. And you go there on the last day, if you try to talk to them, they're like they'll turn their head or go
Yep.
hide behind the wall.
Do
They
you
don't want
know?
to talk to you.
Do you know what we call it? The last day of a trade show, you've been there a day before it opens, and you still got to break down that last day. The reason people turn their heads, Ronnie, is because most of the people who come into your booth, we call it the vendor crawl. It's other vendors.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not
The last
the people who go to like an IWF. They go during the week and they're not there on Saturday.
right. The last day of JLC, I wanted to try the quick shot and I went upstairs to their, and the two guys that were working the booth were standing there. I'm like, oh, good, no one's up here. They were having a conversation and I was kind of standing there thinking, okay, they're getting ready to ask me, do you have any questions or whatever? Nothing. They never stopped talking to each other. They were
They
done.
were burnt. They're done.
They were done.
and it and then oh, I love Atlanta at IWF. Uh, the everybody leaves 5 o'clock. They shut, or now it's 4 o'clock, I guess. They open the doors and they shut off the AC. You pack up in a Festool booth. We could pack it up in 2 hours, but then you got to wait another 4, 5, 6 hours
Oh, yeah.
to get your pallets. Then you got to kick it up a notch to pack your pallet, shrink wrap it, get it ready, tag it. I can remember completely 100% sweat soaked and going up the escalator out of the bottom of the Georgia Conference Center, 100% sweat soaked, and it was 1 in the morning.
Yeah.
And I had to be up at 4 to catch a 6 o'clock flight.
I always find it interesting that they only turn the AC on for the public.
Yes, that's it.
Like it's hot. People don't realize when you're setting up for the show,
Oh.
it's hot. And as soon as the show's over, they're like, shut her down, boys. No more AC.
And that's how the AC, they don't have AC running when you're setting it up.
Yeah,
And
no, I
the
know
thing
it's
is it,
it's terrible.
we have to put up with these idiots on these forklifts. And then they deliver your pallets and they're broken.
Yeah. Yeah. The US Toll and Fastener was telling us how they charge them per pound
Oh
on the
yeah,
forklift to
it's
bring
called
that in.
drayage. It's per
Yeah.
pound
Yeah.
drayage.
Because the
And if they
forklift,
set it down and they have to move it again, they'll charge
Yeah.
you for every single
Yes.
pound that they lift. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Felder told me about that. They spent like well over $100,000 just for the pallets for their booth for one way, like just to get the stuff out on the floor. And they were breaking down like how much the show costs. I'm like, it's ridiculous.
Years and years ago, I would hear this. I was going, what? The world's worst place to do a trade show is Chicago at the McCormick Center. And the guys have a thing, hide and seek for $1,000 a week. That's the union. They don't do anything. They just hide, and you got to go find them. And it's freaking crazy, man.
I didn't see
Yeah,
for
my wife, she used to be in charge of setting up for a container company at all of the trade show locations, including McCormick. And a lot of times I would go with her. We would do New York, McCormick, there's New Orleans, Atlanta, Orlando, different shows. And they would send her in by herself a few days before because a girl can get a lot accomplished by herself. The guys on the forklifts, they bend the rules. They'll like, can you get this for me? Can you bring this in? It's amazing how much she would get accomplished. A 20-something-year-old girl, that's the key. It breaks those people down.
Uh-huh.
But there was a guy once that almost made her cry because she plugged something in on her own and they saw her do it.
Oh,
And
yeah.
they were the union electrical people. And they're like, you are not allowed to plug that in.
Yes.
That's our job.
It is absolutely crazy.
It
Now,
is.
I will make a compliment or present a compliment to some of the guys that I work with at JLC. When I used to say we used to own the show. We used to have the largest booth there. We used to sponsor all the clinics. It cost us a nice, pretty dime, but it was, back then when trade shows are trade shows, it was worth it. So I knew two guys. They were riggers there, and the I love those two guys. They were two characters, and I would say, "Hey," and they'd look at me. They go, "Yep, we'll get it done for you." And boy, they would. It was really cool because they would jump, and but
That's
they saw us grow that show every year. And the reason I really, really, really like JLC is because I've been doing it out of the this will I think be will this be my 18th time or 17th time I've done it. Almost all those contractors walking through, I know now. And you know what a lot of them say? Hey, going home after this? I go, yeah, because they all know I go up to Maine, and they come in, they go, hey, how you been? It's like it's like going home and just chatting with people and talking about, hey, what's new? Check, and it's and they're contractors. So I go, hey, what are you working on now? What you got a big house? How's it going? Or hey, staying busy, and they go, oh yeah, and they'll start talking. It's just a good feel. It's New England,
a lot
and
of
those guys, they get it.
like-minded people. Very like-minded.
Yeah, they get it. JLC has tried Midwest. They tried one in Oregon, and they were dead as doornails.
Yeah.
And all through those 17 years, that place has always been packed.
I think there was a JLC in Nashville I went to once
Yeah.
too.
Hey, did I mention this? Kind of last fall. I think it was actually October, November. The staircase guy, Jed Dixon.
Mhm.
He passed away
Yeah, I actually did hear that. That's not
because he had some of the most. People would go in there early and put their backpacks and be at every single one of his clinics.
yeah.
He was one of the most brilliant people I've ever met contracting in my life. The guy was amazing, and yeah, it just sucks. And Rick sent something to me about a lot of people who used to present there. A lot of people have passed away, and I'm like, what? And he listed about four people. I went, oh my god, I didn't know he died.
I mean that just reflects what they're talking about. The people, the skilled trades are retiring or dying, and there's not the new people to replace that are not filling the spots at the rate that people are retiring and dying. It's got to be and that's where they're saying that plumbers are going to be charged. They're already charged 350 an hour, you know, because of the trades. There's a slowdown. No one
Thank God
pushed
we
it.
got Cam.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I've told him, I'm like, you find your thing you want to do and which areas stick in it. You can set your price because
Yeah,
it's only going to get worse.
yeah,
Better for him, but worse for people. Because if you
yeah.
want to pay, you're gonna have to pay to play if you want to get someone out to your
Yep.
location to work. Um,
So, not to completely change gears, but I have something crazy that I need to talk to you guys about.
Uh-oh.
Sedge has a little bit of an idea of what this is. So let me set the stage. We went over to Sedge's house on Sunday, as we normally do. And while we're on the way up there, my wife says she thinks she's finally decided that she's okay with just staying in Indiana for a while. It's fine. Yes, it's not everything that we want, but we're building a community here. We're building a family. You've got your thing with the golf, and the kids are going to school, and I've got this job that I like, and I have this new found group of people that I run with, and all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I don't mind Indiana. Like, is it perfect? Like, no, of course it isn't, right? But like, I don't mind it here. I like the seasons.
Home is where you hang your hat, my pops always said.
Exactly. Well, right after that conversation, Seth is laughing because he knows where this is going. Right after that conversation, Nicole says to me, "Oh my God, look at this house that I found in Avon, which is where we live. It's not very far from our house at all. Yeah, it was a house for $1.1 million on
You
8 acres. Okay. On 8 acres. It was about a 3,300 square foot home, completely renovated. Has a pond, a large pond that's fully stocked with fish that you can fish
Wow.
on the back of the property, like
Wow.
a good sized pond. Oh, and by the way, it had a 3,800 square foot shop
Oh, wow.
that
plus an office.
that had like a 15 by 17 finished office in it, and it was split up into three different sections. Basically, it was like the back end, which was the really tall ceilings, humongous shop, about the size of the shop I would want, about 30 by 40, maybe even bigger than that, maybe like 40 by 50. And then in between was like this office. And then on the other side was another smaller shop without super tall ceilings, but like, yeah, that's where you put all your yard equipment, your lumber, and all that stuff.
Plus a
Well,
garage.
that price is sounding
Plus a
better and better
garage.
to me.
Plus a
Plus a
garage.
garage.
That's sounding like a deal.
So,
You
what do
should
you-
have seen
what do
his
you?
face. Your face was unbelievable.
Do you know what we did yesterday, Sedge?
I know you went and looked at it. Marianne told me.
We went and looked at it.
I knew when Marianne told me. I knew what the answer was.
I tell
I
you,
had a huge, I had a huge sneaking suspicion looking at the pitches.
you know what? I'm thinking right off the bat, if I split up that shop and the house half and half, that's a deal any way you look at it.
So-
Plus 8 acres. It's
So,
like,
Jason,
yeah.
what was my first question? What year was it built?
Oh yeah. What was it?
1980
89?
1989. Yep.
Yeah. So, okay, just for everybody to think that I'm buying a $1.1 million home, that's not happening. We are not buying that house, but we did go look at it. And I'll be honest with you, when you walk in, it's a typical flip. There was a lot of what you could tell was very, very quick work. So we went and looked at it. I didn't even go in the shop because I was like, it's not even worth it for me to go in the shop because the shop will change my viewpoint of this place. And I don't want it to do that because Nicole and I both, we went in and looked at the house. It's not that it was bad. It was just, it's older. It has a lot of, it's not what we want. Like, it's not something that we would want to spend that kind of money. If we're going to spend that kind of money, we're building the house we want, period. I'd take 7 less acres to build a house we want. And the shop, the exact shop that I want.
Near Sedge and Chris and Rick.
Yeah. Well, that's probably not going to happen. That'll be way more expensive. But, so yeah, I loved the property. Like, it was so cool. So of course, one of the girls, that Leo went to daycare with, her mother is a realtor and we know her very well. Her husband is actually in the Army as well. I think he's National Guard. He's deployed right now somewhere, but he is a loan officer. Like, he does the financing and stuff. So she actually works with him to do that. Obviously, he's military, so he knows a lot about the VA. So she actually contacted the listing agent, and turns out the guy that lives right next door is the owner of Fry Electric. Fry Electric's headquarters it's here in Avon. I pass by it every single morning taking Leo to daycare. So he's the owner. He bought the house. The only reason he didn't come by, I guess he's kind of nosy and he always wants to like make small talk with people that come by and look at the house, is he's out of town. So he bought the house, put a ton of money into it, and used a bunch of local contractors for it. But then again, that doesn't change anything because I went in there and I'm like, I'm looking at little things. But again, I'm a woodworker, right? But I was surprised because like the kitchen, I went to go pull out a drawer. Like, the entire kitchen was remodeled, everything, new paint, new flooring. I mean, it was decorated very nice. It's not a bad place. Stairs redone, all of it. But it was just like a lot of little things they just kind of left out. But when I looked, in the kitchen, I pulled one of the drawers out. The drawer falls out. Brand new kitchen island.
Ceviche. Ceviche.
No. drawer falls out, and it was funny.
No, that's slice.
Yeah. No, this is gonna get better. So I
Ronnie,
feel,
don't laugh too hard. You're gonna break a freaking rib.
yeah.
It's so bad to laugh.
Yeah, you made the joke. So hold on, calm down. So I looked on the sides and I realized, okay, these are dovetail drawer boxes and they have undermounts. So I reach underneath and I'm like, that feels like a Bloom clip. And so I look
Celiche.
underneath it, and all of the hardware in the kitchen was Bloom. So I'm like, okay. And they used a local cabinet company. I'm like, or at least they didn't skimp on that. So that wasn't bad. But I fixed the drawer, right? I clipped it back in and now it works fine. And so here's how it ended up evolving.
So you fixed the drawer.
I did fix the drawer. Yeah. So here's what ended up happening. And I knew this was going to happen, Sedge. I freaking knew it. Because I know how Nicole and I are. And I know how these balls start rolling down the hill, picking up speed. So right around the corner, this is in Plainfield. So the house was technically in Plainfield, but it's like right on the Plainfield-Avon border.
Yep.
Well, right around the corner is this new community that's being built. It's called I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but the houses are, gorgeous. Apparently it's a very well-respected builder. Nicole had us drive through there one time, and they have a whole bunch of lots, and all the lots are 1 to 4 acre lots. And this company in particular is the builder for this small community. Right outside of the community is one of these city running trails, and Nicole is all head over heels about it. So we're leaving the house and we drive in there, and one of her friends lives in one of the houses. And I asked her, I was like, is there any way you can find out how much that house cost? And she did find out. And the house that she lives in is beautiful. It's the style we would totally want. It was like $800,000 on that lot. And I'm like, wow, which is still a lot of money, right? Don't get me wrong. I'm not that's a lot of money. It would be a significant increase from what we're doing now. But I saw that and I'm like, that's with the land and
How
building
much
the
land?
house. I think her lot is 1.5 acres.
That's a lot. That's good.
Well, my dream, my perfect world scenario is we still live in a community, but that community has a minimum of 1 acre lots, and I can build a shop on the property, and I can work the shop into the build of the home and have it included on the price. Because I like having neighbors, even though I don't communicate with them a lot, but I don't like sitting in my backyard looking at my neighbors that are 200 feet away from me.
Yeah.
So if we could have a larger property, then, that would be something I would consider. So I mentioned that to Nicole. Then I was asking about the VA stuff. And I always heard that you can fund a home build and purchase property using a VA loan. And it's not exactly like I can get a VA loan and then do that. You have to get what's called a VA construction loan, which is, for a certain period of time. And then the home is built, it gets appraised, and then you finance it under a VA loan and all this other stuff. However, it's possible. It can be done. I did find that out. So what do you think? Nicole's been having conversations back and forth with that other mom. It is now turned into next Wednesday at 4 p.m. We are meeting with the builders who, guess what, are VA-approved home builders, because that's one of the rules. They have to be a VA-approved home builder, and that they don't typically work with a lot of VA, but they love working with veterans, and they would absolutely love to talk about the possibility of building in there and finding out what something like this would cost and what lots are available.
Kitchen bill just got escalated.
Well, no, look, this would be a long process, right? So we're talking 9 months to a year, realistically, probably.
Right.
But I think we're actually going to take the meeting and we're going to go over there and we're going to see how far off are we, right? Are we even in the ballpark? Because I've always told Nicole, I just didn't think that the potential of it happening so soon. But with Nicole has always been stuck on the idea of whether or not she wants to stay in Indiana, which she never really has. But now it's starting to grow on her. And we don't mind it here, and we love the seasons, and it's not a bad area, right? There are things that we wish, we didn't necessarily live where we lived, but we don't hate where we live. Sedge, you guys have both been here a million times. The house is nice, right? The neighborhood's not a bad neighborhood. Like
It's a great neighborhood.
it has
It's
everything that we need,
yeah.
but it's not the house we want to be in forever. And so
Yeah.
now that she's made up her mind, or she's focused on how can we get the place where we don't even want to consider moving for years.
So when you said you'd incorporate the shop into the house, were you thinking that it would be part of a
And the
large garage, or
mortgage.
would it be part of like how would it be part of the
It'd be
house?
detached.
Yeah.
Detached?
But he could build it into the build.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. I
They
was
would
trying to
build
think.
it. Yeah.
So it would still be detached, but it wouldn't be part of the house.
Yeah.
Correct. We'd have our regular garage, and then I would have the shop. And we drove through, like I said, there's only 30 lots in this small community, maybe 35. We'll say. I don't think it's even that much, but
And it's still country-ish, right?
very.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I
I mean,
would
you got to
say?
take like some back roads. Sedge, if you were going to my house, it
Yeah.
is 6 more minutes. You go down the road a little ways, you make a right,
cool.
and there it is. Yeah, so it's still it's in the same area. I don't even think
Yeah,
it's 6 minutes. I think it's like
and it
4.
won't be too far from the new Ale Emporium either.
No, it's still right down the street.
You know what, Jason, you all could do is kind of a hybrid. If you liked this area and you wanted to grab a specific lot, if you could grab it just while you're trying to figure out. I don't know of anyone who has failed with this method. I know of people who have made a lot of money doing this. If you grab it and you sit on it, even if you decide not to go forward with it, everybody I know that's ever done this has made a lot of money off selling it later on.
What do you mean buying one of the lots and not
Like
building on it?
grabbing the lot just to hold your place on what you want. Like if it's a newer development, if you're grabbing that choice lot and you said it could be 9 months, a year out or whatever, if you've grabbed that lot, I know of off the top of my head 5 people that have done that, and for one reason or another they decided to do something different or whatever. They've always made their money back and more because the more built out a neighborhood is, the higher the lot prices are.
Right, because
They
then
only get
people
more.
want to get that last lot. You can
Yes.
sell it for more.
And if you have the choice slot, I mean, someone could actually go through it every time there was a new development. If they grabbed the choice slot and sat on it until the neighborhood was almost done, you would substantially increase what you paid for it. Like every
The
time.
thing is, though, is I would assume that the company, and maybe not all companies are like this, but they're smart in the sense of if you're buying this lot, you are having us build a home on it.
That is sometimes now the case for sure.
Yeah.
That is
Because I
the
can
case.
imagine a lot of people doing that, and then they're like, "Yeah, I don't want it," and then they sell it to somebody else. Like, I'm sure it's like if you want to build in this community and buy one of these lots, it's probably part of that whole thing. So, like,
Yeah.
the lot plus the home you want will cost $750,000 or whatever the case is.
Right.
But the other thing too is like, I don't have money laying around to, spend a few $100,000 on a lot, because that was going to be the next thing that Nicole and I were considering if we decided to stay here was, okay, well, I'm not buying tools anymore. I can only travel so much, right? Like what expenses do I have? And, maybe I can start investing money and buying a lot somewhere that maybe one day we build a house, but I don't know. I don't want to live out on the grid. I don't want to live in the country. Like I want to live in a neighborhood. I just want the lots to be large and I want it to be the house that we want.
Yeah.
But when we drove through that area the other day, the there's only like 4 houses built there right now. There's 3 that are done that people are living in, all beautiful. And then the one down on the end of the street is still in construction, but it's really, really close to being done. 2 of the 3 that are complete both have, like, you basically pull into their driveway and on the left-hand side is a garage, 2 or 3 car garage. And then directly in front so it's like a parking pad. Directly in front is a detached shop. And like one of them's like 2 stories that has like a guest suite above it, a detached garage. I don't want to say it's a shop. That's a dumb assumption, but one like holds an RV. It's got this massive, huge door.
Yeah. I think they call that a Sedge suite.
Sedge suite. Yeah.
I think it's called a Sedge suite.
Sedge Sweet.
Yeah. So pretty cool. I don't know.
Saliche.
Slice.
Yeah. No, it wasn't Celiche. It was Bloom. Way to go, Bloom.
He's like, Bloom. Okay. I can make that work.
Yeah. So, needless to say, I may be taking a pause on going so hard with house projects here soon. I think it would end up being because I mean, let's say that we go through with this. Well, in a year, roughly, right? Who knows how long it takes, but let's just say a year and a year to be moving. Like, why am I going to continue to, keep adding a bunch of things that we won't enjoy? I might still do little things just to like increase the value, but I can't believe I'm even talking about this. Like, it makes me sick to my stomach. Like the thought of moving again.
You were so funny at the house. You just kept looking at me, going, shaking your head, going,
Yeah.
no, no, no.
And then Nicole's like, it's not that bad. And I'm like, it's not that bad. Are you kidding
Yeah.
me? It's
Well, you know,
awful.
the thing is, the longer, if you are going to move, the better, the younger they are, the better.
Yeah.
The kids, the younger they are, the better. Because they're not far off from, they're going to have some friends in the neighborhood and they're going to think you're destroying their world
Yep.
because you're moving somewhere.
Yeah.
And right now, they're at the age where you could totally move them and they wouldn't care.
Yeah. Well, Leo will be happy because we'd actually be even closer to his best buddy in the whole world. We'd be right down the street from him. But yeah, I can't believe that it's even a conversation. I'll tell you one thing. If this pans out, if this happens and we end up building a home and we move, I 100% am paying a company to move.
Oh,
This
yeah.
time I'm paying a company. I'm boxing everything up. I'll have it ready for everybody. Come on in. I'll be over there in my recliner. Make sure that's the last thing you take, and I'll be drinking beer. Like
I'll
I
tell
am
you,
not my
Boy,
shop. I will move, but the
I,
house not touching.
Boy, moving Pascal kind of sealed that, huh?
Oh yeah, I'm done.
I
I am so
done
done.
too.
when Mark Spagnola, the Wood Whisperer, whenever he moves now, he hires a separate moving company to move his shop than to move his house. It's kind of interesting. It's like,
I will move my shop.
yeah, he's
That I'm
learned that.
not. Yeah, that just because I don't. One, I just I don't feel comfortable having a bunch of other people move. Like I've moved them enough times and know an effective way to do it without destroying the tools. And the shop itself, like if that was the last thing, I would just wait, have it be the last thing, and then we already have everything in the new house. We have a big barbecue like I did last time. Invite some people over. We move the shop in a couple hours, and then we, f off and eat good food and drink beer.
I
I can't
had,
believe
don't-
I'm
and-
even talking. This is so
And
dumb.
I don't drop a ball lifting the goddamn treadmill.
Yeah. Oh
that
no, no,
treadmill's the
no. None of
heaviest
us were
thing I've
none of
ever
us were lifting a treadmill.
That
None of
was a
us.
heavy, heavy thing.
Yeah. That's going to
Crazy
be for
heavy.
somebody else to do.
I can hear Cameron coming back right now on his dirt bike.
You know what's funny is there's so many people listening to this podcast right now, and you know what they're doing?
What?
They're saying, "I'm not even surprised." Like, of course you're going to move.
Yeah, they're not
Of course
surprised.
you are. I've been in this house for what, 2.5 years now? 3 years?
Yeah.
It's about time. Yeah.
They're not surprised. But
I
that's
just-
He
okay.
needs to build. He needs
You're
to.
still
He needs to
young.
build out another shop.
Hey, and you
You
know
know-
what? Houses aren't getting cheaper either.
Nope.
Well, you know what excites me the most about potentially doing something like this is that this house will not require me to build a bunch of dumb stuff to make it the way we want it because we would build it the way we wanted it, which means what? Then I can focus on just building furniture stuff. That's it.
Yeah.
Getting
Yeah.
better as a woodworker, not constantly building cabinets,
Yeah.
built-ins. And like, not that I don't like doing that, but I just want to build things. Like I want to stop building square boxes.
So it's kind of funny, Ronnie. You just looked back. I know exactly where he's standing.
Yeah. He just opened the door and said, "Hey, I'm going home."
Yeah.
He rides. He's got a friend by our shop that he can ride on the road, and they ride. They have trails like through the forest, and they ride every minute they can ride. He's obsessed with it.
It's what's the weather like there? It's beautiful here.
Yeah, it was 70 some today, just kind of windy. Supposed to
Yeah.
be tonight, supposed to be some 60-mile-per-hour gusts, which guarantees I will getting some screen calls tomorrow. Guaranteed. Because if
people
they
will
leave
leave
them
them down.
down, if people leave them down, that is where they can get messed up. Yes. Especially the large ones. For sure.
Mm.
Today was a big call day about people thinking it was spring. I got a
Yep.
bunch of voicemails about things about they've been thinking, or I quoted out last year, or I had I had 7 voicemails at least and some emails of just I had to look up to see. I didn't remember. Like I talked to you last year, you quoted it out. We're ready. It was today
You'd
was
be
the
like,
day.
oh, the price probably went up.
I guess it's good.
Hmm.
They don't understand. I'm trying to build a boat.
Jeez,
Yeah.
criminy.
Trying to build a boat. I don't need to do your
I don't have
screens.
time to do work. Building a boat. You know how much
Yeah.
money that's making me? Nothing.
Nothing.
Oh, Ronnie, I had a question for you. Have you ever installed like vinyl shutters, like on brick
Oh
veneer?
yeah. Oh yeah.
Do they sell like anchor packs specifically for shutters?
Yeah, there's the black plastic with little
Yep.
what it's called ribbing, kind of like a flanges. That's the best way to do it. You just drill a hole into the masonry and you just knock them with a hammer and it holds them in place.
Well,
That's the easiest way to
I
do
had
it.
one come out, and I have another one that's probably about to come out if we get another windstorm.
So what I've done,
I need to replace them.
if you have them come out, you can also use a Tapcon. I've done that before, and I've glued that little black circle thing on top of it. I round out the head and I just glue that on top of it. If I silicone it on there, I've done that before. If you have one that comes out,
Could I not just use the same style anchors and just put new ones in there?
once you get them like reamed out, it's kind of hard to get them to stick again unless you put like epoxy. You could put one of those little get like at Lowe's they sell the
Yeah.
little Gorilla 2-part epoxy things. Just put that in the hole and then stick it in there, and it's going to lock it in again.
Put that in the hole and stick it in. Got it.
And
That's
then the
gonna be
whole,
the
but that
show title.
it's that
That
one.
little thingy at Lowe's.
Yeah. If you were Jason Hibbs, you'd say put some Thixo in there. Total boat. But you
I
can
actually
use
have some of that.
yeah, well, the Thixo would work really great too. It's the same thing. I mean, that's where the boating stuff is amazing. Like if you can use that outside, it's weatherproof.
I mean, I could
Um,
just probably use like a
2-part
all-purpose
epoxy.
construction adhesive or
You
anything.
could. I think epoxy would work great though, because it would set up really quick. But yeah, that's how you got one in your house that's coming out.
It already came out. My neighbor gave it to me. It flew over into his yard, and then I have another one because the front of our house, it just gets like blistering sun
Hmm.
in the summertime, and so they're constantly warm. So like I've had some that start to curl and pull away. So when I get up there and replace the one, I'm just like, well, let me just fix the others. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I we had that issue on the front of ours, and I made some out of the I don't know what it's called. It's OSB that's got the white coating on it that looks like wood grain. You know what that's
Huh.
called? It's like if you turn it over backwards, it looks like OSB on the backside. I put those on there 15 years ago, and they still look amazingly perfect. They don't care about heat. They're awesome. So if you're ever going to make some shutters, that's what you make it out of for sure.
Hmm.
It's like a 2.5-inch material that's OSB with a white coating on it. Stuff's bulletproof, waterproof.
Nice.
Have you ever looked
Good.
up shutter prices? Like you can buy shutters online, like cedar,
It's-
Western
it's-
red cedar.
It's absolutely crazy.
It's amazing. I mean, like it's like $900,000 for like Western red cedar shingles for one window, and like you look at it and you're like, okay, I can make that. I'm not gonna buy those, but apparently they must sell them.
Oh,
You look at
yeah.
a house that would go through and just basically buy one for every window. That's a pricey
Hmm.
shutter package.
Well, it's getting to that time where it's like nice to be outside. So like I found myself today, we had this beautiful day, beautiful weather. I got back from the gym. I had to pick up some materials this morning. I had to go get the 5/8 inch MDF that I'm using for the bottoms of the drawers for that Salice stuff. That's what it calls for. So I had to go get that from Etna. But anyways, I came back and like, I'm starting to look around the house and see like, okay, it's springtime. Here's some like, I have like metal edging around my rocks. Well, in the wintertime when the ground freezes, it pushes the spikes up. So I've got to go through and redo all of that and get all that set again. And my door for my backyard was like leaning one way a little bit, so it wouldn't close properly. So I got my tools out and I started adjusting that. I'm like, man, this is the time of year to get out here and start
Oh, yeah.
getting all these things nice again.
You know what's funny is everybody I talked to today that call me, they always, this is like standard. Every year when people call, they're on top of it and they want to try to get you out there to do a project. They always give you an apology, like a pre-apology, like, now my backyard right now. I haven't gotten out there. I haven't opened things up. My pool's still closed. All our things are still out underneath. I know it looks awful right now because we haven't opened it up, but we want you to go ahead and get measurements. They always tell me that. And
Yeah.
I said, I'm right there with you. I said, I have everything right now. All the patio furniture just stacked up. No one's opened things up, but they're trying to get on top of spring.
Yes.
Yeah. Kelly was going to cut all the hydrangeas today, all those blooms.
Yep. Oh
It's
yeah.
time
Yeah.
it's time to cut them or they're
We're
going
all
to get overgrown.
we're all anxious to get out. I was raking this weekend, just some
Yeah.
mulch that had come out of the beds, and I'm just making all my plants. I said, "Oh, should I bring the hoses out?" No, not yet. No.
I tell you, that was one of the best things about Atlanta when Cameron and I did that ride. It's spring in Atlanta already. Like
Oh, yeah.
the grass is bright green. There's blowers out. There were people with weed eaters and mowers, and we passed that. And I was like, oh, it's spring here. It is spring. So we were so close to it coming to us. And it was I think that's why I enjoyed it so much, that ride. It was very spring like weather.
Mm.
And it was I'm ready for it. This has been the hardest winter I can ever remember.
I was telling my
It's the
buddy.
worst since I've been up here.
I was telling my buddy today how bad the winter was here. It was brutal,
It has been
and
extreme.
mentally for a lot of people, it has been brutal.
Yes.
It's people are just like, I mean, Jason and I keep saying we're done, but that's the common theme. I'm so done with winter this year.
Yeah. I'm ready for it to warm up. for
Cabin fever, baby.
sure. Yeah.
Oh, geez. Well,
Who do you
this is-
got?
this is good timing. I got a naked baby.
Kids everywhere.
Naked.
Yeah. All right. We're going to go ahead and close this one out. Hold on, Max. You need to say
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening.
It's a birthday.
Oh, nice. That's professional
Yeah.
right there.
Leo, say goodbye, everybody. Say it in the microphone.
Goodbye, everybody. Have a good festival.
Have a good festival.
All right.
Have a good festival.
Bye-bye.
Oh.
That
All
was
right.
perfect.
Yeah.
Have a good festival.
Have a good festival.
All right, Sedge, take us out.
Bye-bye.